this. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love how it says previously live. Oh no. I think I did something wrong. Oh boy. Okay. Tech, 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 tech. Gotta love it. Huh. Okay. Okay. No, we are not live on. Got it. That's just awesome. We are not live on LinkedIn. I thought we would be. I'm trying to fix it. Don't know if I can fix it. Okay. Let's check and see if anybody is here on YouTube as I am trying to get my tech together. Okay. YouTube, we are live. And now I just need to figure out who's coming and asking questions as we walk through the sheet. Um, yeah, I sure hate that this LinkedIn is not live. Oh, wait. No, I see. Yes, we are live. Okay. Let me oh, this is interesting. uh I can't see what happened there. Okay. That's great. Got it, got it. Check, check, check. We're learning, guys. This is our first one of these. So, but it does look like we are live on LinkedIn on this second. Um, but I cannot. I can edit. Okay. Let me put this here. Paste. Um, okay. We're good to go. I think. I don't know. I think I keep messing with it and I think that's what's causing problems. Maybe. Um, okay. Well, I am here to answer any questions that you guys have about the episode. I hope that you were able to download the sheet because I am going to walk through this sheet here. Um, and then I'm going to repost. Join me live now. I'm here to answer your questions. Okay. Okay. So I'm assuming that I just posted that. I'm trying to figure it out, guys, on LinkedIn. Okay, we have 5 people who are on LinkedIn. So I want to ask, oh, yes, yes, I see. Thank you, Brianna, for letting me know that I'm live on LinkedIn. But I kept messing with it. I think that's part of the problem. Which that's okay. All right, let's get started. And I'm just gonna hope that uh, it's all working because I can't tell. It's very strange. Okay, it looks like it's working. All right, so um, got the tech out of the way, and it's only 7:06. That's great. I feel like that's a win. You got to count your wins when you got wins. Definitely appreciate you guys. I'm gonna do something hopefully interesting here. I am going to um I'm going to pull up the worksheet that is available to you. So hopefully you guys did listen to the first episode um, of this new season of the podcast. Let me start with giving some background. Um, I was referred to a book called Power by Jeffrey Pfeffer. It came out in 2010. I listened to that book and then I was like, yeah, this sounds great, but I don't know if this is something that I could have actually done, if these things are things I could have actually done. And I was intrigued because this second book came out. It's called The 7 Rules of Power. It came out in 2022. So it was this like an update. And so I started listening to it, the audiobook, and I was like, oh no, I've got to get the written book because I've got to make notes. I've got to write in it. I've got to really like look at it and reread and make sure that I'm getting everything. I've got to study it basically. And so when that happened, I was just like, excuse me. I was like, okay, can't gatekeep this. People need to know about this. This could actually be tactically helpful to us in our career. So I got really excited about it. I've been talking to all my friends about like, have you read this power book? Do you know that we think of power wrong? And we need to rethink how we think about power. Um, and that's so important, guys, for us to rethink how we're thinking about power because how we're thinking about power doesn't serve us. So, a lot of the times when we think about power, we think of politicians and rich people and people that don't treat people right or they do wrong by people. And I'm here to tell you that that is not what power really is about. Um, the reason why we see all the quote unquote evil people or people that don't care about people or however you want to put that is because those people um, they have power and so they do whatever they want to with it. But if we actually work to get power, then if you have goodness in your heart and you want to do good, you amassing power helps you to do that. And the problem is we don't have in our society the right people to have power. And that is the fundamental problem. And so I want you to think about it like this from your own personal sphere. How many people have gotten laid off? How many people have found themselves wanting to get promoted and can't? for whatever reason, you keep doing everything they tell you to do, and for whatever reason, it's just not working. Um, the reason is you don't have the power. You haven't amassed power. You haven't acquired power. And the funny thing is, there are rules to power. When you look at social science, which that's what these books are based in, you realize there's things about human behavior that will allow you to amass power if you just do the tactical things to amass power. But a lot of people have deemed these things like really just not cool. And so that's the problem. So I want to talk about it. So I'm going to share my screen here, hopefully, with the worksheet. We'll see how this goes. We're doing something new, so I'm going to take you guys along for the ride. Let's see. If I share my screen. Okay. Oh, you know what the problem is? This is not in. Okay, I know what I need to do. I cannot share that way. Okay, we've got to go to my Google Drive and all right, we can share it this way. It's not as pretty because it's I made it prettier in Canva. Oh, actually, that's what we'll do. We'll head on over to Canva and we'll open it there. All right. Thanks for bearing with me, guys, as I am not as tech savvy as I would like to be. So we're getting there. But okay, now I can share my screen. There we go. Okay, I am sharing my screen now. And we are, I'm going to pull this out so I make sure I can see what I'm sharing. All right. I built this in Canva, but I wasn't able to make it fillable. So I'm just going to walk through this action guide that I created based on Dr. Pfeffer's book, 7 Rules of Power. If you have questions, please, please, please ask me in the chat. I've sent y'all a bunch of emails today to get you guys to join me in this journey. So I'm hoping that this will be helpful and that you will have questions. Okay, so let's talk about some of our beliefs. And I mentioned this a little bit, but you have to ask yourself, is power good or bad? Right? Is power good or bad? If you believe power is bad, this is where we've got to talk. And if you believe power is good, this is where we've got to talk. Because in actuality, power is neither good nor bad. It's just a tool. It is something for us to use. Same thing with money. It's just a tool to use. Money's not evil. What you do with it is how you should evaluate the good and the bad, right? Okay. So some reflection questions, and I hope you took some time to do this. If you have, please put in the chat, like, what beliefs do you currently hold about power? I want to hear from you guys. If there's anybody, actually, I think Riverside has this cool feature. If I can get it right, I can invite you into the audience. So I'm going to put the link in the chat here. And if you click on that, you can join me. I will be able to hear you. And if you are on your computer, I'll be able to see you. And if you want to share what you wrote down on your worksheet, if you feel like sharing. If not, you can share it in the chat. You can do that. But definitely welcome to come and join me. Now I know that Riverside has this feature and that it actually might work. Okay, so what beliefs do you currently hold about power? I think for me, I really have always thought like, oh, people are power hungry and they're horrible people. But after reading Professor Pfeffer's book, I realized some of those beliefs were actually hurting me. They weren't helping me because I wasn't trying to do any of these 7 rules. And the first rule is to get out of your own way. So this is part of getting out of your own way. I designed this worksheet to really help you write out and think about how you're going to get out of your own way, how you're going to use power to help you in your career. So part of it is really thinking through like, okay, what am I thinking? What mental blocks do I have? And what can I do differently? Right? Anybody have any questions? I can, if you're on LinkedIn, if you type a question in the comments, I'll be able to see it. If you type a question in the comments on YouTube, I'll be able to see it and I can respond. So please, please, please let me know. If you have questions, if you want to join me, we can do that too. If not, I will keep walking through this worksheet and hopefully you will have a question because it's supposed to be Q&A. It's the live Q&A. That's why we're here. Okay. So let's see. So if you want to join me, you can join me at that link. It's in the chat. All right. Now, the next part of this worksheet that I built, and I have to move things around here. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to work this out. Here we go. Okay. So I wrote, now write a new belief that will help you move on with power. So one thing you want to work on is you want to take the belief you have and then say, is this a belief I want to hold or do I want to let this go and why? You want to just challenge yourself. Brianna says in the chat, can you use yourself as an example? How have you gotten out of your own way? Have I gotten out of my own way? No. I will tell you one of the things that I have done to get out of my own way. I know people think that I'm super extroverted and I'm a super networker and super connector. And I wear those, I guess, labels with pride. But one of the things that I don't like to do is ask people for things. I don't like to ask for help. Asking for help is like an Achilles heel. I actually have an episode about asking for help and that Black women specifically need to ask for help. And I do not like to ask for help. I like to help. I like to be of service. I don't like feeling like I need help or I can't do it on my own. I am uber super independent, and that is not good. So that is something I've recognized in myself, because in order to amass power, you need allies. And you can't get allies unless you ask, unless you build a relationship. And then when you need their allyship on something, you ask them, like, hey, I'm about to go into this meeting and this is what I'm presenting. And I really could use a second voice in the room to back me up. Are you comfortable with doing that? Do you have any suggestions for me? But can you be my ally in this room when I'm asking for extra budget or approval or alignment or what have you with decision makers? And so that is something in my career that I didn't do. When I look back at it, I'm like, oh, that would have been very helpful. But I didn't do that. And so I recognize in hindsight, that's how that works. And in a future episode coming up, because I'm doing an episode for every rule, so there's 7 episodes in this series. Basically, like, network relentlessly, like building that allyship. It's so, so important, because that's how you use allyship to get things done. And then reciprocally, people are going to ask you to speak up in the room or what have you. And we're all going to calculate the cost, right? Because we're all playing the game. And that's a part of understanding power, is that it is a game. Either you play the game or you get played. And that's facts on facts on facts. Like, there's no way to get around this if you're working in a workplace. And I've been struggling because a lot of times I'll say corporate, because I've worked in corporate America, or what we know as corporate America. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies the vast majority of my career, pre-MBA and post-MBA. But the issue is the dynamics of the workplace happen in every workplace. If you are a teacher and you work at an elementary school, honey, I have heard my teachers talk about the BS of the superintendent and their administration and the principal and the assistant principals and all these things. You can use these tenets to help you navigate your school and the politics of the school that you work at. If you work for a nonprofit, understand, nonprofits are companies. They need to make money, and they try to be profitable, even though they're not for commercial profit per se, but like, they can't do the work of the organization if they're not profitable. So they fundraise, they get grants, they do all these things to make money. It is a business. And with that, and with humans in the mix, comes the game. And you have to play the game if you want to not just survive. Like, if you're like me right now, listen, I have interviewed. Okay. I have had conversation after conversation after conversation. This market is something I have never seen in all of my good long years. Okay. And my face looks young. So I'm here to tell you, like, if you are here and you're watching this and you have been struggling with your career, you've been laid off more than once, more than twice, maybe, like, you know you're smart, you know you're capable, you know you can do this. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not just because you're Black. It's not just because you're a woman. There's so much more at play. Let me tell you something. I saw a LinkedIn post with this wonderfully, like, neighbor next door bake apple pie white man. And he was sitting up there saying, I'm going to be homeless. Please help me. I want to work. And that's when I was like, whew, honey. And it's people who don't have networks. Conversely, today I saw a LinkedIn post where a young lady was talking about, I landed 4 offers in 45 days. And I wanted to be like, great for you, I guess. And then she went through all of what she did and sounded like just way too much extra, right? Which great, that works for you. But what she didn't say is she has a very niche experience and very niche type of work that she does. Number one. Number two, she's networked. She used her network. And I know she said, well, I applied to a lot of these without knowing people. Yeah, but then she went and turned around and she contacted the HR person, or if somebody she knew, she had them put her in touch, and she used her network and those weak ties in her network to get to where she got. But people can't see the forest for the trees. At the end of the day, it's your network that's going to get you your next job. Somebody has to interview you, a human. Then another human has to interview you. And then another human has to craft your offer letter paperwork and agree. And then they all have to meet and agree. You have to work through humans. The ATS is just a hurdle, just to make it more complex for no reason. I don't know why we humans do these things, but again, I think that's just part of the game. And yes, Shy City Queen, shout out Chicago. I love summertime Chicago. She says, it reminds me of 07, 08 years after college. Yes, girl. I was in my first year of business school. I started in August of 2008. When I tell you I cried with people, companies were rescinding offers. So like I went in the summer, I worked for you. You wined and dined me. You convinced me to come here. I did my best work. You gave me an offer. And then March, April came. I'm about to graduate in May. And you tell me I don't have a job. I turned down job opportunities because you told me I was going to have a job. And then now all of a sudden I don't have a job. But if you have amassed power, when those things happen, you can quickly move on to the next thing because you have built a network, you've built a brand, people are going to be coming for you. It's a pull strategy instead of a push strategy. They're coming to you instead of you chasing after opportunities. That's why it's important for us to build power. So if you have a belief that you're holding, that power, you don't want it, I want you to rethink that. I really want you to rethink that, especially if you've not had a career that you love and that you're enjoying. I want you to rethink your ideas on power. And understand our biggest roadblock is us, right? Even me, guys. Like I think about that, just a moment of honesty. Like we're just gonna keep it real. I think about how I should have played a different game when it comes to authenticity. And I was wishy-washy because I wasn't trying to break rules. I was trying to be a rule follower, yet I have this purpose over here that I feel very strongly about that needs to be done that doesn't fit the corporate mold. And so I've been teetering and trying to play it safe when in actuality, every day I'm getting another lesson that I'm not operating in my power. and I'm not breaking rules, and there's rules I need to break. And if people say, oh, well, I mean, you better watch out with that, cause like, then I need to say, you know what? Then you're not for me. You're not my tribe. It's not somewhere I need to be. And you need to get honest with yourself and say, is this where I need to be? And hell, that might not just be about career. Not trying to break up any families or anything, but these are some times you got to ask yourself some questions. We're still in Q1. It's going to be a long 2025. So we got a lot to think about as we get our lives together and get our affairs in order. Now, there's an exercise here on this second page. Identify 3 limiting beliefs that you have about yourself at work. Then rewrite them with a power-based alternative. So one of the things Dr. Pfeffer talks about in the 7 Rules of Power is how we position ourselves. And I have been telling you guys for years now, you need to drive your narrative. It is important that you drive your own narrative, right? So one of the things that we do that we don't even realize we do is we let words come out of our mouths that we feel, but we don't understand the impact. So for example, let's say, you're in a meeting with your boss and he says, oh, how's the project going? And you feel a way about this project. And so you'll say something like, well, we are, working on it and it's been a challenge. But, I'm working to problem solve and, it's just tough. Or you'll say something like that, right? And that's a normal human reaction, especially if you feel like you have a safe space. That's what most people would say. That's the honest thing. Like, hey, this is a challenging project and we're working on it. Let me tell you what people who operate in their power say. So your boss says, hey, how's that project going? Oh, project's going great. Okay. We're working on it. We're problem solving. We're getting things done. And so my expectation is for us to meet the deadline. However, we have a contingency plan for if things go wrong. So I didn't lie. I was honest. Project's going. It's great because in my perception, it's great. Whether it's going not as I expected or not, it's still going great because we're here today in the year of our Lord and beyond, and we're on Beyonce's internet. So life is good. Okay. And that's really, that's really what you need to do. But to take it further, let's say your boss asks you, well, tell me about you, right? So let's say your boss is asking you like, how do you feel you're showing up during this project? And some people will be like, well, it's difficult because in the room, when I try to talk, people talk over me, blah, blah, blah. And you're just telling the truth again. In your mind, you're just telling the truth. That's not powerful, or if you're carrying an idea about how you show up, or sometimes when we're junior in our career, somebody will say to you like, oh, you're really not that great at that. And you'll carry that and you'll believe that. Like for the longest time, I believed, oh, I'm not that great at PowerPoint. I'm not that great at this. Now I will tell you, real talk. I don't like PowerPoint. I don't like designing things. But guess what? Guess what she did? Yes, she did. She designed it. It's a worksheet. She did that. it looks decent. Is it going to be the designer A plus? I can't compete with somebody who's been to design school. I didn't go to design school, but for somebody who's not a designer, y'all got a worksheet and you'll get 6 more of these. So you have to reframe your own story. Like, how are you describing yourself? What are the words that you're using to describe yourself? Oh, I'm introverted. Stop telling people you're introverted. Because that what that means to them is, oh, you're weak. Oh, you're this. Whatever negative bias they have against this introvert, it's supposed to be, I think we started saying that to help, right? To help people understand, like, I draw my energy from internally. So when I'm around a bunch of people in a meeting and y'all ain't talking about crap, now now I'm tired. And it was for people to give empathy and to understand. Well, people have taken that, honey, and they're not using it in that way. They're saying, oh, she's introverted, so she lacks executive presence. This is why you got to think about how you're talking about yourself at work and how you're defining yourself. Sure, you may be introverted, but I'd rather you say, I'm thoughtful, introspective, and I use words that carry weight. So you're not going to get a lot of fluff from me. I'm going to think it through before I come to you with my point of view. That's what I want you to say instead of saying you're introverted. Hey, you guys that are on live, give me some other description. What are some ways that you feel like I've described myself, but it's not in power? And I'm going to give you the new words, the power-based reframe. And I know there's a delay, so I'm going to wait a little bit. And I'm going to call Riverside. We're going to have a conversation about the delay. I don't think there's any way to fix it, but. And boy, do I talk with my hands. I've been that way since I was a kid. I'm just going to give a few minutes. Anybody. This is what this is for, guys. I just want to be helpful. And thanks, Arena, for telling me that my worksheet looks great. That means a lot from somebody who's really good at PowerPoint. I've seen your decks. They're amazing. Okay, so Brianna, you're saying that people have told you that you're honest. I hope that's correct. So what I would say is something around the fact that I would say my core belief is integrity. My core belief is integrity. So when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If you need to know the real about a situation, I'm going to tell you the real. You're not going to have to second guess with me. I'm always going to let you know so you can make the best informed decision as we work together. So words I left out on purpose, I'm going to tell you the truth, because people have it in the back of their mind. If somebody says, I'm telling the truth, that they're lying. And I don't know why, because when people tell you who they are, you're supposed to believe them. And if I say, I'm telling you the truth, if you notice, there's some politicians, they'll never say that they've told us the truth. They'll never say, like, I'm telling you the truth. They'll never say those words. You can just pay attention to people's language. Krista asks, help me reframe people pleaser, please. Okay. Well, we shouldn't be people pleasing. That's not in power. You should not people please at all. This is not about pleasing people. This is about helping people. So one of the things I think what you should think through when you're talking about what you bring to the table and how you help is say, hey, I'm really great at collaborating, and I would love to collaborate with you where I can. So this way, you leave the door open. They can ask you for help, but you can say no. And it also sets the tone for that at the times you need to say no, you've already set the expectation. Sometimes I'm going to have to say no. And so you always say, hey, I'm high on collaboration. I love collaborating, and I'm here to help when I can. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know in the chat. Chastity Queen says, I love speaking up, but hate when speaking up turns into an extra project and it feels like a punishment. Ah, ha, ha, ha. I see yes, I've seen this. I've actually done this to others. I used to do it in business school in my groups. I would consolidate the PowerPoints, but I would delegate. So what you need to do is first you need to think about, what are you trying to accomplish when you're speaking up? When you're sharing your POV at work, you have to ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish here? And for me, and what I tell my clients, you need to figure out what's going to make your life easier when you're trying to accomplish something, right? Think of it as a chessboard, and you're trying to move the pieces so that your queen is protected. It's you. You are your queen. Protect yourself, girl. Okay? So in those situations where you're in a meeting and you see that something needs to be done, and you know nobody has the, what's that on the race seat? Nobody has the responsibility to get it done, but everybody has the other, like, maybe you are accountable, or your team's accountable. Maybe your boss is the accountable one. And there's a bunch of people. There's always a bunch of people to inform. Jesus, right? But you should, well, let me ask you this. How are you bringing this up? Are you asking the questions, or are you declaring like, hey guys, did we think about this because this needs to be done? So what I would stop doing is saying XYZ needs to be done. What I would speak up and say is, I would ask a question that would lead somebody else to the answer of, oh, we really need to do blah, blah, blah. And then that's when you point to them and say, oh, that's a great idea. You should take that. If you could take that and run with it, then that'll allow me to do. And then you talk about your 3 priorities that your boss then gave you, instead of you raising your hand and saying, we need to do blah, 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 blah. And then they looking at you like, okay, we'll do it. And now it's an extra project. So no. And also, if this thing that needs to be done doesn't affect your workload, if it's not going to help you in any way, sure, you're smart and you know it needs to be done, but because guess what? Those extra projects, all that extra work, it's not going to count for nothing. In fact, some of the times you're not even going to get credit for it. Somebody else is going to take credit after it was your idea to bring it up, to fix it, to make things better, because that's what we do. We make things better. And then we don't get any credit. So you really have to understand, if I take on something or speak on something, how is that going to benefit me? How does that protect my queen on my chessboard of the game I'm playing? The only way you should be taking on extra projects is like the C-level people are going to have visibility to this. So I'm going to fix this. And sometimes you need to do things under the radar and then bring it forth as you created the solution according to your company's culture. If they reward people for doing that, for like, oh, such and such was proactive and they did this and then did da 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 da. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Brianna. Only when it helps you, because that visibility and connections, if it's a project that helps you get that, it's a project that's helping you protect your queen. Then yes, do the project. But don't do these extra little projects, especially those like keep the lights on projects. I have done so many of those in my life. Nobody cares about this, but if it doesn't get done, then people notice and complain, and then there's a problem. I'm sorry, y'all. I'll be having PTSD sometimes when I'm talking about when I'm talking about all these situations that there's nothing new under the sun, guys. Whether you work in a big company, a small company, you work for a nonprofit, a school, government, all whenever there's people gathered and calling it a workplace, the game is on. And there's a game being played. And it is on you to figure out the rules of the game that you're in that workplace. It is on you to show up and craft your narrative, your own story in that workplace. Take your power. Stop hiding. Just, I'm going to do my work and then I'm going to go on. If that's, understand, you can do that. I don't want to put my value system on anybody. You can do that. I just want you to understand there are consequences to putting your head down and just working. Because while you putting your head down and working, mediocre Bob is over there watching you, watching everybody else. He sees you, you're the worker bee. Great. Hey, Queen, what are you working on? Oh, that's cool. And how did that turn out? Okay, that's good to know. Thanks for sharing. Next thing you know, next team meeting, mediocre Bob. We did some great work in the team and this didn't worked out this way. And I just want to let you guys know that this is what we're doing. Or this is what I did. Some people bold. They're like, this is what I did. And you in the meeting. And they'll look you dead in your eye and take credit for the work you did. And then dare you not to say nothing. Exactly. Mediocre Bob will deflect right into leadership. I got to put that on the screen. Because that is facts. And so if you let mediocre Bob do that to you, girl, and this is why we need to work on getting power. So only do extra work when it builds power. Yes, Brianna, anything you need to do to build power, do it. Just do it. I know people are like, anything? And I'm like, Jeffrey Pfeffer said anything, but understand, I believe in Jesus. Jesus is my homeboy. There's some things I'm not doing, okay? Especially as a woman, there's some things I'm just not doing. Now, I'm not going to judge you if you do some things as a woman to get to where you're going. I don't judge it. I don't judge it, okay? Because it's literally people online saying they're making money from selling feet pics and selling video of them eating. So Do what you got to do, okay? Within your own moral compass. Now, write down how you typically describe your role at work. Somebody, anybody, throw me a bone. I love some of my friends who've joined. I appreciate y'all for being here. um, it means a lot to me, more than you guys know. Um, but how would you typically describe your role at work? So, for example, for me, while I wait for some people to chime in the chat, typically I would have described my role as I am an executor, and what that means is I get things done. And what that also means is I don't miss deadlines, I don't do this, I don't do that. Now, when I was junior, that was cute. It was real cute. I appreciate my younger self. But as you grow into leadership, what I needed to say was, I'm an executor. And what that means is I lead projects in excellence. I lead cross-functional teams. I coach and develop junior people who are working with me alongside with me. And I collaborate to a high degree to make sure that we get things done on time and under budget where possible. That would have been a better way to frame it. And I'm positioning it as I'm a leader instead of I'm an executor and I just get things done. No, I lead projects and I get them done. So that's one way to reframe and re-highlight and talk about the impact, right? Yes, I do want everybody to win, and I do not want this information gatekeep. Like, we gotta let people know. We got to. We really gotta let people know. Um, yes. Brianna, one thing I love about the question that is a game changer is asking why, and comfortably asking why, and sit with why. But Brianna says, I'm the keeper of why. I'm the consumer's voice within the company. Okay, that is powerful, because you're saying the people who pay are the consumers, the people who make the company money are consumers, and you're their voice in the company. So one thing I would add to that, Brianna, I would add the impact of being the consumer's voice in the company. So you would say, I'm the keeper of why. I understand why our consumers are moved to action to buy from us. I'm also the voice of the consumer within the company, which means that I am driving the business forward and driving growth because I have the relationship with our consumers. And then I would stick that in ChatGPT and say, make this more concise. I'm a little wordy. So Chastity Queen says, I lead the sales cycle and make sure account executives tell the truth to potential customers while making sure the software meets customer requirements and business needs. Okay. I think for you, I would say, so I would, to make it more powerful, I would say I lead the sales generation machine for this company. And I pause it there. When leading our teams, I ensure the account executives I ensure account executives hold I want to say something around account executives, potential customers while making sure the software meets. I make sure account executives embody the values of our company when working with customers, and that our products and services, and ensure that our products and services meet the needs of our key customers so that we grow the business. I would tweak it something like that. You know what? I'm gonna chew on that, and I'm gonna wordsmith it, and I'm gonna come back because I'm gonna let this replay, or I'm gonna let it live live on YouTube, and I'm gonna come back and reply to your comment with my wordsmith. But I want you to add something that talks about sales generation instead of just sales cycle, because sales cycle in corporate speak just is like a thing you just did. It just happens. It just always happens. Everybody has a sales cycle. Some sales cycles are short, some sales cycles are long. So I want you to talk about your impact. You lead the sales generation. You generate sales. I want you to talk about it in that way, because that's what the sales cycle does. It generates sales. So I that's more powerful language. So I want us to think through those ways we can tweak how we talk about our jobs and what we're doing currently and what we're delivering. The other thing, when you work in sales, you have the numbers. So how have you grown? And you can add at the end. Last year, I grew sales by X%. Last year, I beat our target by X%. Whatever that good metric that you had from last year, use it. If you don't have one, make up something that sounds good. Because usually you're not talking to somebody that really know anyway. Most people don't know your job. Half the people you talk to don't know what you do. They just know what they do. You got to understand something about human beings. Human beings are self-centered. This is why most of us can't play this game and aren't good at this game, because we're so busy myopically focused on just whatever we have going on in our little bubble for ourselves. And we forget, no, we on a chessboard. It's chess pieces moving all around us. And we just in our own little bubble. This is how we get caught up. And then next thing you know, you get some email talking about a 15-minute meeting with HR. And it feels so out the blue. But if you have been paying attention, you might have would have seen some things coming. Every layoff I've ever had, I already knew it was going to happen. I was hoping it wasn't going to be me, but I was going to be in the number. I knew, but I was paying attention. I think for me, I just didn't know what to do to not be in the number. That's what I've been trying to problem solve for. And this is where I finally feel like, oh, I got the answer. Oh, these 7 things, I haven't been doing them all, and haven't been doing them all consistently. And so it was a big aha moment for me reading this book, because now there's something that we can do. Yes, at the water cooler. Yes, those are the facts. I'm so sorry, girl. Child, these companies, they be on some BS. And here's the thing, you know what really helps you, because we have these turbulent times and these, you can't even say government. Government used to be a stable job. Not anymore. They laying off people left and right. Like, people just one day they get an email, you don't have a job, you don't work here anymore. They getting rid of contractors. Like, it's wild out here. And the only thing that's going to save you is the relationships that you've had. And we're going to talk about building that network relentlessly and building your brand. So your reputation and your network are what insulate you from all that stuff. But you can't just put your head down and do your work and think that you're going to make it out, because that the people with their head down, that's how your head get chopped. Like, literally, head count gone. Bars. I never said I wasn't corny, guys. Okay, so before we get out of here, because this is 8 o'clock, that went by fast. I appreciate y'all. I said I was gonna do this for an hour. I can talk forever, but I do want to talk about these last pages and how you should think about them before we get out of here. So, how are you showing up? So over this next week, I really do want you to pay attention to how you show up, how you talk to people. Like, don't apologize for nothing. If something goes wrong, you say, wow, this is good information. Here's how I'm going to troubleshoot it next time. Or here's how we're going to think about fixing it. If something does go wrong and you feel the need to say, oh, my bad, or, oh, I'm sorry, or I'm so sorry, don't say none of, take all that out your vocabulary. That does not build power. That is not powerful. And we need to show up in a powerful fashion. That's one of the rules. We're going to talk about that more in a couple weeks. But I want you to be seeding that to yourself now. Stop apologizing for things. Stop softening phrases. Like, stand in your power. Do not be afraid. Be the consummate professional that you are. And it really comes down to confidence. Are you showing up confidently? And stop looking at what you don't have or like your weaknesses. That's the thing. They try to get us to focus on our weaknesses. No, focus on your strengths and talk about what you do well all the time. Weaknesses, either ignore them or strengthen them quietly behind the scenes. Build your skill up if you need to. But really, truly, focus on your strengths. So this reflection question, what do you notice when you stop doing these things? I really want you to work on that this week. Now, power moves for the week. One of the things I want you to do, I hope that you did it this week. I was hoping maybe somebody said, oh, I already did my worksheet. It's okay if you didn't. If you come back next week, we'll talk about it next week. But I want you to take one of these actions. So if you speak up in a meeting, it really truly is about just sharing your POV. And a lot of times speaking up in a meeting with confidence is really about asking the right question, asking a provocative question, asking why, asking, hey, I just want to understand, why did that happen that way? And is that the typical course? Makes people think in the meeting. You're like, oh, yeah, we don't do it that way. What happened? Let's talk about it. Let's think about it. Or you can say, well, okay, can you share why you made this decision and what your rationale for that is, so that we know and understand the context so that we can make sure we execute properly if you're in a role where you have to execute, right? Asking why is a power move. Asking questions is always a power move. Asking for clarity, asking for understanding. That could be you speaking up in a meeting without getting project that you don't need and it's not helpful to you, right? Also, I want you to share your wins. When you meet with your manager, and by the way, you should be meeting with your manager every week. And if you're not, come back next week. We're going to talk about it. But you should be meeting with your manager every week. And every week, you should be setting that agenda. You should be giving them updates. And then you should be saying, this is where we won. This is where I won this week. Unapologetically. This is what I'm doing. Because the more you reinforce your value, the more you insulate yourself from being on the chopping block. And then the other thing I want you to do is make a direct request. So pick one of these. You don't have to do all these. Just, you don't want to come in guns blazing 180, scaring people at work. But I want you to make a direct request. So one of the things I really want you to do is around building your network. If there's a senior leader you would love to meet, I like how this person shows up. I really want to talk to them. And if you're in a culture that's like very hierarchical and says you can't talk to that person, or if you say the wrong thing, it might be a career limiting move or whatever. I want you to forget that. I want you to make friends with the admin, and I want you to get on that person's calendar for next quarter for a coffee chat for like 15 minutes. And you just want to ask that person for advice and counsel as you're growing your career in the company and you wanted to meet them. And then you can also share a win with them, a win that you got and a win from your team. If your boss is not supportive and one of them people like insecure, afraid, any of those things, they on some BS, don't tell them about this meeting until after the meeting. And then let them know like, hey, I had a 15-minute meeting with Jack and it went great. And I told them how great you were, because always edify your boss. Even if you hate your boss, always edify your boss to other people in the organization. Here's why. Human behavior says, if I tell you, let's say you're Jack and I'm you and your boss is Samantha. Okay. So you got Jack, Samantha, and you. So I go meet with Jack as the senior leader and I say, yeah, Jack, I'm having a great time here. This has been a great experience. These are the things I love about the company. Here's some of the things here's one thing I've seen, like if I had a magic wand, but we worked through that and problem solving. It's great. Then you tell Jack, yeah, and Samantha, oh my God, she's been a great boss. She has been supportive for me. She's been an advocate for me. I really look up to her and I think she is a great leader. Here's what happens. They go into a calibration room. Samantha talking cash shit about you. Jack's in the room. That's going to cause cognitive dissonance because you listened to Jack talk about himself for most of that meeting. You told him only nothing but positive things. You left him feeling great. Then Samantha going to come talk cash shit about you? Samantha looks stupid. Samantha looks like she's a snake and she's lying. Samantha looks like a horrible human being. And then now Jack is going to be looking for you to say, hey, let's talk. Let's blah, blah, blah. Because now Jack is wondering, well, what does Sam say about me when I'm not around? Because all you did was sing Sam's praises. Human behavior. It doesn't matter what you look like. Doesn't matter where you come from. That's human behavior, guys. That's why you don't want to complain at work. Don't complain. Don't complain. Do not complain. Always, everything's great. Everything's good. Sure, you point out there was a situation. You tell them how you handle it. How you're going to handle it or how you handle it. Past tense, right? Like, stay positive, because that energy is going to help to insulate you. So I love this. This is new language I've just created in my head. It's all about insulating you from this outside noise and mess. This is why you have to get outside of yourself to pay attention so you can play this chessboard. This is why I teach this stuff. This is why we do this. So I want you to commit to an action this week of how you're going to show up more powerfully, how you're going to think through the chess game. So even if you have a bitch ass boss that you hate, don't you ever say anything bad about her or him or them. Only sing their praises. So when they talk about you crazy, they look crazy. Okay? Now, I want you to listen to your language, pay attention to your language, and think about what is some language I can use to make me be stronger, sound stronger, be confident, right? And then This is a lot. I didn't realize how much I was asking in this worksheet. It didn't seem like that much, but it is. And it all goes together. It's all interconnected. So that visibility, this 7 goes with this power move, the direct request. That and number 7 goes together. So you want to take up space. So whether you speak up in a meeting, you talk to a senior leader that maybe you're not supposed to talk to, or you introduce yourself confidently with a power statement, like identify one space this week where you can make yourself more visible. Show up. Stop putting your head down and working. Show up. Because when you do these things, it's harder to cut your head count when you standing tall. You working to insulate yourself. Okay. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for hanging in here. I appreciate y'all. Come back next week and we're going to talk about breaking rules. And here's the thing about breaking rules. It's harder for us, but there are ways we can think through how we break rules and make it work for us, because human behavior at the end of the day is human behavior, no matter what the human looks like. So remember, power isn't something you wait for, it's something you take. And we're going to take our power back. We're going to own our power. Okay? So come back next week. You'll get an email. I actually have a conflict Thursday at 7 next week, but I will send an email with the updated time. I appreciate y'all. If you have any questions, put them in this chat. I'll be checking the chat on YouTube and on LinkedIn, and to understand how I can help you in your career. So I hope this was helpful. I'm going to stay on a few minutes to let the chat catch up because I know I'm a little delayed. But thank you guys. It says 3 people watching now. I don't know who's watching on. I don't think anybody's watching on LinkedIn. I don't know. Maybe I don't do this on LinkedIn. I don't know. I don't know what's right or what's wrong. Oh, I said bad words on LinkedIn. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Chastity Queen, hang in there, girl. You got this. You got this. All right. Bye, guys.